Ciao Enrica.
Ciao Gaia.
Garments function as semantic prostheses to shape our individuality, identity, and the communities we live in. This leads me to observe fashion through an anthropologic perspective as a form of communication among human beings, a dynamic receptor of social changes. Today, we discuss this topic with Enrica Guidato, who's a social expert, fashion sociology teacher, columnist, and sustainability advocate. As the French semiologist Roland Barthes defined it, fashion can be considered the language through which the current culture is expressing itself. He specifically was interested in the coding and defining its grammar. We are currently witnessing a shift in the way individuals respond to a specific gender identity through the garments they wear. Among others, having a severe social impact within this topic, there is Alessandro Michele, the creative director of Gucci, who has opened a fracture in the classic concept of beauty as harmony, grace, symmetry, and gender identity as well, by pushing forward a debate which is at least as relevant as the Gucci product itself. The gender-neutral movement as a flood drags along the concept of inclusivity. So people today are starting to consider as acquired the rights to feel beautiful no matter how they look, ageless and unapologetic. So I wonder, has the momentum of the fashion industry as we know it, of hot supermodels and aspiration, come to an end? Enrica, can you please introduce yourself and tell us why you are so interested in fashion sociology and anthropology?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much, Gaia, for having me. And thank you also for choosing this wonderful title that I repeat as a mantra to my students all the time, which is Fashion Reflects Society and Society Reflects and Shape Fashion. It is my interest since 20 years now that I teach. I'm a full-time professor for SRISA here in Florence, and that gave me also the possibility to collaborate with universities that are specialized in the studies of fashion, like VCU in Richmond or the Washington University in St. Louis. I also collaborate with other fashion institutes like the Istituto Europeo of Design and Polimoda. Among like the classes I developed in those 20 years, I noticed that my focus went more and more towards the understanding of the social aspect of fashion. So the going like beyond fashion as just the final product and all the interesting things of the final product. So the new colors, the new shapes and the new messages, but actually like put that in a context that is more in like reading society. And in fact, for communication, yes, I did also create this column that was called Style and the City, actually, that I published for 8 years, that had also original collage and sketches. And recently, but not so recently, I also switch my interest into sustainability. So I started to also teach a sustainable and ethical, which is a very important word for me, classes for different schools that I really care a lot about. And I think it's a message that we need to promote more and more in the future. So that gave me the chance to meet with Pistoletto for the Third Paradise project years ago, and to sustain even like small businesses, local businesses here in Florence. So to sum up, I would say like I like to describe myself as an observer, maybe like an active observer, because I do study and analyze, but I like also to try to share my thoughts with, of course, my students and colleagues that are smart like you to have this kind of talks. So thank you so much again.
Thank you to you. Actually, our conversations are always very interesting and dense. And now I see why, because really, I would say that perhaps you are interested in fashion sociology because it talks about our everyday life, really. Going back to, however, fashion fashioning the body and fashion on the body, some garments alter the shapes of our bodies by adding volumes in certain areas. Why is this the case? And is still the conversation about genders today, or are we even beyond that? Do you think the fashion system is aware of the impact it has on a social level?
Well, actually, these are all like very complex and interesting like points of discussion. To start, I will say that we always should try to have like a wide overview and like put like all arguments in perspective. In the case of like shaping the body, something that belonged to our history as humans since the very beginning. Sociologists and even like anthropologists like to connect this need of the human being to fashion his own body in terms of try to not feel that much the inequity that they have toward the natural world that is of course like full of beauty, but also to other human beings around him. So as humans, we have, yes, the social need, but we always use also clothes and in a very extreme way, not just by covering ourselves with colors and material, but also like in an extreme way, actually modifying our own bodies in order to state in many cases like our superiority among others. The modification of the body served very important purposes socially. To just like mention the most important, the showing rank or lack of rank, to defining our role in society. And one of the first distinguish that we have in fashion history is actually distinguish genders. So give like this male or female label to human beings since the very beginning. And this was, to sum up, hundreds years of history, was normally done by enhancing or diminishing the sensuality in women, so covering the body for like modesty or religious like reasons through times, or enhancing the body shape of the female body in order to instead overexpose the sensuality with the connection to either fertility or like just more simply the sensuality of the female body. And this was done through Western society as well as Eastern ones with very known items of clothes like corsets or crinolines, but also kimonos or burqas. And it's still, as we know, like done today in certain areas. For the men, was basically the opposite. They wanted to state like their power socially. And so we see a modification of the body that went especially in particular areas of the body, for example, like in the height of like headpieces or hats, or in the volume of the shoulder to give more an impact of authority towards the people that will look at him, to the eye of the viewer. So we see this definition of the genders that was mainly on sexuality, erotic level for the women, and on like power authority for the man. Today, of course, we find like a little shift, well, a very, very important shift, as you were saying, because it's something very new that started a few decades ago with the emancipation of women, basically worldwide, and now is dealing with comfort, with self-expression through comfort. Let's not forget, corsets were considered instrument of torture recently in an exhibition at the FIT Museum in New York. So we have to distinguish between gender definition and gender limitations. I think now we are finally going over the concept of gender limitation. And so especially the new generation feel free to express themselves out of the classic binary definition that we had since today. But at the same time, we cannot go over gender definition because our bodies are different. An important work has been done, as you were mentioning in the introduction, by very important protagonists of the fashion scene today, like Alessandro Michele. We can mention and that to connect again with your introduction on bars, on the language of fashion, we can mention a person that is actually linked to Alessandro Michele, which is Miuccia Prada. Miuccia Prada was the mother of mean fashion. So in a way, she started this, free the women from the traditional standard of beauty, say, I want to make ugly clothes with ugly materials. And today, Alessandro Michele is pushing that concept in a very relevant way, because it goes beyond the dresses, as you were saying, and it actually touches like our body. So it's pushing like boundaries of the face, the body shapes that are considered pleasant to the eye. So we have face features that are not regular, that are not expected, that are unusual. And we are now trying to respect that and find even like a new beauty in that. And that's what I find like very, very interesting. So yes, the conversation is still about genders, but also here we can make a little distinguish, a little like specification to make things more clear for our viewers. So probably like professional observers and the old trend forecast industry is even above like this or beyond the concept of genders, but we need time to adjust, the mainstream consumers and fashion producers. So I think like the discussion on genders will be important for several years to come yet. We need to find new ways of expression that will lead also the fashion houses to produce in the end like a new product. So the discussion needs to be still like very cohesive and strong in order to impact the future generation. And this impact is, yes, on the social level. And I do not think to answer your third point, I'm not sure the fashion system is aware of the power they have in influencing like society. I think the main problem of the fashion system today is that they are still on a 20th century mode in terms of production and distribution, and they just change the promotion part of the process in a 21st modality, which we can say is, of course, web focus. Okay, so the advertising, the promotion, the marketing is done, of course, through social media and like using all the more innovative technological tools we have today. But and this impact the social level worldwide. But also the production that is still on the 20th century mode impact as well the social level. It impact because fashion is the second polluter just after oil, because fashion is overproducing like it did in the 60s, basically. More and more through the 90s and entering in this new century without adjusting to the needs of the 21st century. And so the impact of fashion is still it's more relevant that they are aware of, because it is practical on the environment and human beings worldwide, on an individual level for our connection with ourselves, so how we see each other, how we are happy about our bodies and our faces and our youth, and how we feel the pressure of society of that. Fashion is responsible still for a lot of that, in the negative, but also it could be in the positive way, with the inclusiveness and like a more open discussion, and even more loving, spreading a more loving energy among like different shapes of ourselves. But it's responsible also on the social changes that impact practically the world, and of course like climate change is a result of that. So I'm afraid that the fashion system is not fully aware up to today of the huge power they have and the impact that fashion houses have on the society in general.
And if this is the horizon we are navigating towards, do you think the fashion industry will be able to cope with real fluidity, with the real fluidity in terms of communication, in terms of distribution, as you rightfully mentioned, but also in terms of product development? Because going back to the body, which is where we actually started our conversation, we are dealing with different body shapes among genders.
Yes, in fact, the biggest and more difficult challenge of the 21st century, I believe, is for the fashion system to adjust. In the 20th century, they jumped in this new mass production mood, and a little bit with the enthusiasm that we had with plastic, that was like a miracle material, and everything was positive about that. In the same way, also the overproduction, the mass production was seen as really only positive and democratic way to give fashion to everybody worldwide, which is still true. But yes, we need to adjust to a different time. We need to adjust to, first of all, a different atmosphere that people have towards the binary genders, and be able to absorb this new concept. And the fashion system, especially from the manufacturer side and the production development, need to do a step back. They need to limit that part in favor of the more conceptual and artistic side of fashion. Basically, if we wanted to look back, and again in this we'll connect again with the thoughts of Barthes. If we wanted to look back in history and try to have a complete overview of our society from a pre-modern, modern, and postmodern stage, I think we need to find back the qualities of the pre-modern stage, that was for a product to be unique, and unique not only because it was made in that one sample, because it could be forward to a more customer, and that's the beauty of like fashion being democratic. But I think we need also to go back to being unique in the sense of the message, the artistic value of fashion. And in this artistic value, we have to find also the social value. Okay, the social value that today and for the future generation needs to be more aware of itself, the fashion companies basically need to understand the power that they have and be more free to shape, if fashion shapes a society, to shape a future society for the better and not for the worst. Because I'm afraid that the problem today is that they are concentrated more on the final part of the process, which is selling the products, and less to shaping a better society, which is something that fashion is always neglected or not considered enough influential on a social level, but it has a huge influence on a social level. So I think that if more and more people in the fashion system, and not just the producer, but also professors, educators, observers like us, start to stimulate a discussion on giving back to the fashion this role of like shaping the society, we can be more active instead of be passive consumers, and be more active in actually use the very big power the fashion system has to create a better environment for the future generation. And in this process, of course, we need everybody to cooperate and to facilitate this process.
Actually, I would like to ask you, Enrica, to leave us with two reading suggestions of books to approach and eventually deepen the topic we have discussed today.
Oh yeah, that will be wonderful. Yes, because like we need to educate, we were saying, and to inform. I think like one of the things that I always repeat to my student is try not to stop at the first information you have. Try always to go more deep. And in order to do so, I like to give a couple of books that I use for my classes that I found extremely interesting. The first one is called Thinking Through Fashion, and is explore especially different theories of especially the 20th century, from Roland Barthes to, of course, like other very important ones in their analysis of clothes. So how we express ourselves through like shapes and colors, and use that kind of discussion to understand current times. And the second one is called Fashioning the Body, and it's actually very interesting also visually, because it has an historical guideline through real body modification through times, from like corset to crinolines up to a more recent modification of like the 20th century, 1950s lingerie up to the new ad campaigns. So they're both like very interesting readings for the viewer that are willing to go further in this analysis.
Enrica, grazie mille. Thank you everybody for watching. You will find the reading suggestions in the description of this video. Grazie mille, Enrica, grazie ancora. Thank you.
Perfect, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.